Words cannot describe the anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter, Madeline.
Following more than a decade of terrible uncertainty and agonizing searches, the case of Madeleine McCann, the young child who disappeared from her family's vacation villa in Portugal in 2007, has shockingly evolved. Authorities have revealed the amazing news that the long-lost child has at last been located, closing a mystery that has captivated the hearts and brains of millions of people. This discovery has stunned the world and given the McCann family some hope. Come explore with us the fresh information on Madeline, who decided to occur following 17 years. For a very long time, the public has been closely examining the vague accounts of Madeline's disappearance. Hence, this recent disclosure about her behavior has generated more conjecture than one could possibly imagine. So get ready, let's dip in. Synopsis of the events. On May 3, 2007, the McCann family was vacationing in Portugal. Like many parents, the McCanns checked on their 3 children often after putting them into bed in their apartment and then left for dinner close by. Kate McCann discovered her daughter Madeline missing about 10 p.m. This revelation set off a panic that drove a thorough search of the resort. The young girl vanished despite an immediate search for her, beginning an array of years-long trials that would last. The case attracted worldwide attention right away since media outlets all around covered every update. Although the public gave the McCann family great support, they were also under close inspection. While some questioned their decision to leave their children alone, others speculated on Madeline's disappearing specifics. The Portuguese police first believed she might have either strayed off or been abducted by a stranger. Still, the investigation got divisive when the McCanns turned out as suspects themselves. Though later on cleared, this incident fundamentally changed the direction of the inquiry and resulted in a critical loss of time. Many leads and theories emerged over time, including baseless accusations about human trafficking networks and claimed Madeline sightings in other countries. Authorities were contacted, private detectives hired, and even spiritual mediums offered their viewpoints. The Portuguese authorities reviewed the matter in 2011, and shortly after the UK's Scotland Yard launched Operation Grange, their own inquiry. The frustrating element of the matter is the great volume of false information. Even with great efforts put into the research, no final solutions have been discovered. Every now and then, there appeared to be a fresh revelation that might help to crack the case. Madeline was reportedly seen or someone else looking like her. Extra suspects were under interrogation, and forensic evidence was being re-examined. Every time hope was resurrected only to be dashed once the research stopped. The McCann family stayed resolute in their conviction that their daughter was still alive on this turbulent voyage. Though the surroundings were seeing development, they clung to hope. Nearly 20 years later, the discovery of Madeline McCann marks a major and unexpected progress. The thought that the truth could finally surface after many years sets off a complex range of feelings, including anxiety, relief, and grief. The McCann family would be relieved to at last have solutions for their long-standing questions. Since the time lost cannot be undone, regret comes with this possible remedy. Anxiety never goes away, since one worries that this could also be another false clue. The most recent news encouraging hope is the identification of German man Christian Bruckner, who is imprisoned for another crime. This new suspect is someone Bruckner's atrocities. Madeline vanished from the Algarve region of Portugal while Bruckner, a known criminal with a criminal record across several European nations, was living there. German authorities named him as a suspect in 2020. Investigators have gathered evidence connecting him to the scene of her disappearance on the evening she vanished. Still, it has been a long road to rebuild the chronology and compile enough proof to support claims of his involvement. The noteworthy feature of this latest development is the supporting data that, as stated, has surfaced, so bolstering his involvement in Madeline's abduction. More proof of his presence in the area comes from his phone records showing he was contacted on the evening she vanished. Searching residences connected to Bruckner in Germany and Portugal, investigators are actively looking for more proof. These inquiries center on locating any physical evidence connected to Madeline, so verifying Bruckner's involvement in the crime. Many people think that this new suspect offers the first reasonable theory in years. Bruckner's past criminal record, close proximity, and general circumstantial evidence all point to the likelihood he could be the one behind Madeline's disappearance. Still, a big barrier still exists notwithstanding these encouraging developments. In this case, these challenges seem to be stifling a free inquiry. These cases call for strong proof, and without a body or clear forensic evidence, it could be difficult to prove Bruckner's guilt for sure. But a turning point in the narrative of this case is the possible finding of Madeleine or the identification of her abductor. It makes society consider the far-reaching consequences of her disappearance as well as the revelations on child abduction, law enforcement, and media influence on public opinion. One of the main results of a possible Madeleine discovery is the attention it raises on the difficulties and constraints faced in worldwide research. The lack of cooperation between Portugal and the UK seriously hampered the inquiry during the period following her disappearance. Delays and lost opportunities resulted from language barriers, separate legal systems, and different approaches to research. In this case, the media's influence is rather crucial. Her disappearing narrative made international news from the start, and the media closely examined every new update. This higher degree of analysis produced both advantages and drawbacks. However, it guaranteed that her story remained relevant in public dialogues, preventing the public from forgetting it. Public awareness campaigns, including the well-known Find Madeleine posters, became rather popular all over the world. Conversely, the media's intense focus also encouraged general guessing and sometimes overdone reporting. The McCann family was under constant media attention. Some sources claimed without evidence that their reputation was tarnished and that great emotional suffering resulted from it. The possible personal effects of this discovery by the McCanns are rather noteworthy. The prospect that their daughter has been discovered at last strikes a mixture of happiness and grief. Though they still believe Madeleine survived, they have endured the protracted agony of not knowing her future. No matter how sad, a resolution can give one a sense of finality. Should Madeleine be confirmed to have been found, her family will undergo a major emotional upheaval. The healing process is expected to be protracted and challenging, even if the hunt for answers could be almost over. Furthermore, this case is an amazing illustration of the continuing impact of hope. The world has been waiting for answers for 17 years. During this period, the McCanns have constantly kept on their will and not given up. Maintaining the inquiry has been much dependent on their will, supported by public opinion and foreign community attention. Madeleine's relentless will finally results in justice. The longevity of her case is evidence of the need for a tenacious search for missing people independent of time lapse. This situation amply illustrates the simplicity with which children might be targeted and taken. Many families have changed their safety protocols in light of the child's disappearance, especially when traveling. It has also raised awareness of the threats predatory people and child trafficking bring. Should Bruckner prove his actual guilt, his past criminal record could lead to calls for more thorough monitoring of offenders' international travel and stricter control of their activities. Furthermore, the public's reaction to the possible discovery of the child should start a fresh conversation on justice for long-term missing people. Particularly as time passes and media coverage declines, relatives of vanished people often struggle to keep awareness of their loved ones' circumstances in public view. The family is lucky in this regard. They have gotten an unusually high degree of attention that not all families get. Implications of public exposure. The possible result of this scenario could increase public awareness of ongoing searches for missing persons and provide more support for other cases of persons who have been missing for a protracted period. One of the main features of this case is its ability to inspire the global society to confront the concept of hope in the face of challenging obstacles. Hope endured over the years through sporadic sightings of children who looked like the missing child, through investigative efforts that promised answers but finally disappointed, and through the relentless determination of Kate and Jerry McCann, her parents. The ongoing search has been greatly motivated by their relentless belief that their daughter could still be alive. Their choice to remain in the public eye during this trying period has been both a gift and a drawback. The emotional toll of being so exposed for an extended period is great. The public has been kept informed by the intense media attention the McCann family has received, which has also occasionally resulted in unfounded allegations and continuous speculation. Sadly, parents of missing children are sometimes seen with mistrust just because of their close proximity to the circumstances. Many times, society ignores the reality of parents engaging in such heinous crimes. Public discussions thus could be distorted by emotions rather than grounded in reason. Madeline McCann's situation demonstrated how both positive and negative effects resulted from the great media coverage of her disappearing. It ensured that people all around the world could see her representation and narrative, which helped her to be always known in several nations. Madeline's case stayed in public view longer than most others, thanks in great part to this rare degree of worldwide attention paid to missing persons issues. Conversely, some media coverage motivated by tabloids disseminates false information, rumors, and speculation as if they were accurate, confusing, and distracting during the inquiry. Sensationalism abounded in the McCann case, including unfounded accusations and conspiracy theories, which threw a cloud of false information that occasionally hampered the search for truth. Moreover, one should not ignore the impact of the internet. The emergence of social media and internet forums coincided with Madeline's disappearance so that individuals might engage with the case in fresh ways, while some online groups shared updates and possible leads to keep the search active. Others disseminated misleading information or supported unwarranted hypotheses. With a close examination of the investigative methods in the digital sphere, the scenario has attracted great attention from hobby detectives and conspiracy believers. This digital age trend complicates missing person cases by letting those with computers or cell phones participate in live conversations about continuing investigations. Public participation can offer some very valuable fresh ideas, but it can also distort important information and take focus away from trustworthy leads. The worldwide component of Melina's search also reveals the variations in law enforcement practices across different countries. Portuguese officials were attacked for their handling of the early stages of the case, mostly with regard to the speed of their correspondence to foreign agencies concerning the abduction. Likewise, later on, British law enforcement officials encountered difficulties of their own. Assuming responsibility for several aspects of the inquiry revealed significant cultural and methodological variations between the two law enforcement agencies, which caused conflict, delays, and misinterpretation. Over the years, this situation has underlined the critical need for more worldwide cooperation and better policies in cases of missing persons, particularly those involving borders. Children kidnapped, especially those who cross borders, have special challenges. Law enforcement frequently faces challenges including disparate laws, language barriers, and conflicting investigative priorities that impede cooperation in trying to coordinate efforts among several jurisdictions. The McCann case has exposed these issues and demonstrated the worry families of other missing children experience when they observe significant hints being missed. Although some progress has been made in encouraging worldwide cooperation, the continuous challenges in addressing this problem serve as a sobering reminder that more has to be done to ensure the timely return of missing children wherever. The continuous state of affairs has been much influenced by German authorities' participation. Let us now focus on the real beginning of everything. Perhaps we may uncover some validity there, how everything began. Thursday, May 3, 2007, the family's holiday was almost over. Madeline asked during breakfast, "Why did you miss last night when my brother and I were crying?" Her parents speculated as to whether her disappearance suggested someone had entered the children's bedroom. Her mother also noted Madeline's pajamas top had a notable brown stain. After spending their morning at the kids' club at the resort, the family ate lunch at their apartment before heading to the pool. Kate took the last known picture of Madeline at 2:29 p.m. that afternoon, seated next to her father and 2-year-old sister. The youngsters went back to the kids' club, and at 6 o'clock their mother walked them back to apartment 5, while their father was in a tennis class. Around 7 p.m., the McCanns put the kids to bed. Madeline was sleeping in Marks & Spencer's short-sleeved pink and white Eeyore pajamas, along with her comfort blanket and soft toy, Cuddle Cat. At 8:30, the parents left apartment 5A to have dinner with friends at the open-air tapas restaurant of the Ocean Club, which was across the pool. Still, the direct distance from 5A to the restaurant was probably 55 meters. Getting to the restaurant meant walking along a public street to reach the Ocean Club Resort, then a passageway across the resort to the other side of the pool, covering about 82 meters. From the restaurant, the top of the apartment was clearly visible, but the entrance doors were not. The McCanns left their patio doors closed but unlocked, drawing the curtains to let them enter in this way while monitoring their children, since the doors could only be locked from the inside. At the top of the steps connecting from the patio, there was also a child safety gate and a low gate at the bottom opening onto the street. The resort staff had left a note in the pool reception book asking for the table overlooking the apartments to be reserved for the McCanns and friends at 8:30 p.m. for the last 4 nights of their trip. The group had grown to frequent this table so they could eat while keeping an eye on their living quarters. The note also said that the group's children were sleeping soundly in the flats, which gave the parents peace of mind as they left for the evening. Kate McCann, however, began to suspect the kidnapper might have seen the note, revealing their regular schedule and the fact their children were left momentarily alone. For her, this anxiety was a great weight, especially given their vacation circumstances. Balancing their enjoyment of the outing with their parental obligations, the McCanns and their friends left the restaurant every half hour to ensure their children were safe. Jerry McCann was the first person to check their apartment, more especially apartment 5A, at about 21.05. He felt somewhat comforted when he first arrived at the apartment since everything appeared to be in order and the children were fast asleep. Still, looking about the room, he noticed something that made him uncomfortable. He clearly remembered leaving the bedroom door slightly open during his last visit, but today it was almost totally open. This small detail bothered him. Thus, he almost closed the door virtually entirely before returning to the restaurant and rejoining the group. Not only in the United Kingdom, but also worldwide, Madeline McCann's enigmatic disappearance in May 2007 attracted media interest akin to that of the great coverage around Diana, Princess of Wales's death, in 1997. For both established news sources and new digital platforms, the case became a focal point that sparked a frenzy of conjecture and sensationalism. Madeline's parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, discovered themselves at the center of a media storm sometimes hostile as the search for her developed. Many tabloid magazines and social media users leveled baseless accusations against them, implying that they might have been involved in the disappearance of their daughter, so subjecting them to great public scrutiny. The nature of tabloid journalism, which frequently favors sensational stories over factual reporting, which results in a narrative that negatively presents the McCanns, aggravated this constant scrutiny. Following years of suffering and public humiliation, the McCanns, along with friends vacationing with them at Madeline's disappearance, took legal action against Express newspapers in 2008. At last, they were given damages and official apologies from the publisher, acknowledging the damage the false accusations and intrusive reporting had done. For the McCanns, this legal triumph was momentous since it not only offered some sort of vindication, but also underlined the need for media responsibility. Given the gravity of this case, do you believe the witnesses for it are doing sufficient? Observers note 7. Early on in the investigation, seeing a man carrying a child on the night in issue became central. Tanner left the restaurant about 9 o'clock to check on her daughter, running across Jerry McCann on Rua Dr. Francisco Gentle Martins, returning from his 905 check. Even stopping to chat to a British visitor, neither of them could recall seeing Tanner. The Portuguese officials were perplexed since the street was small and assumed Tanner might have fabricated her story. At about 9:15 p.m., Tanner reported to the police that she observed a man carrying a child crossing Rua Dr. Francisco Gentle Martins and Rua Dr. Agostinho da Silva. During the first phases of the investigation, the relevance of the man's path, which pointed towards the residence of Robert Murat, a 33-year-old British-Portuguese person living close to apartment 5A, was underlined as he was seen near Madeline's room heading east, moving away from the front of apartment 5A. The man holding the child was wearing light pink pajamas with floral designs and leg cuffs, evocative of those Madeline wore. Tanner described the man as Caucasian, with dark hair standing at around 5 feet 7 inches tall, displaying traits typical of Southern European or Mediterranean descent, and thought to be between 30 and 40-year-old. Tanner said he did not seem to be a tourist and observed he was wearing gold or beige pants with a dark jacket. According to the investigation and questioning of Kate, Tanner sent this information straight to the Portuguese authorities right following Madeline's disappearance. Still, the description did not find publication in the media until May 25th. Then, Madeline's fund hired a forensic artist to create a man's likeness, which was unveiled in October 2007. The sighting attracted a lot of attention since it provided investigators with a potential timeline for the abduction, offering them hope for a solution to the case. Still, as the search went on, Scotland Yard finally decided this observation was a false lead meant to deflect more crucial hints. Officials said in October 2013 that a British visitor had been identified as the person Jane Tanner had seen returning to his hotel following the Ocean Club night crash from collecting her daughter. This finding was pivotal since it showed that the person Tanner saw was a blameless parent rather than a kidnapper. Scotland Yard obtained pictures of the person displaying attire either matching or close to what Tanner had reported on the evening in issue. More evidence that the sighting was misinterpreted comes from the images showing him in a posture quite like Tanner's. Furthermore, supporting the accuracy of the identification were his daughter's pajamas, which fit Tanner's description. Lead investigator of Operation Grange, Detective Chief Inspector Andy Redwood, thought the alignment of the facts suggested the Tanner sighting had most likely had no bearing on the abduction. This endpoint underlined the complexities of the research and the need for careful investigation in revealing the truth in such a well-known case, since first hints sometimes lead to deadlock. Although the Tanner sighting had first seemed hopeful, the inquiry revealed that it finally highlighted the challenges law enforcement faces in separating between credible tips and coincidental sightings while seeking justice. Apart from Tanner, it was not long after another witness emerged. Witnesses reported to the Policia Judiciaria that several men were acting abnormally close to apartment 5A, both on the day Madeline McCann vanished earlier. These results worried the local population. Thus, Scotland Yard suggested that the people might have been monitoring ahead of a possible abduction or break-in. A clear increase in criminal activity in the area, more especially a significant rise in burglaries multiplied in volume from January to May 2007, supported this theory as well. Given 2 burglaries occurring before the disappearance involving access through unlocked windows, suggesting a security flaw, the recent rise in crime at McCann's apartment block is alarming. Apart from the men's suspicious actions, several witnesses claim to have come across people asking for donations for different humanitarian purposes close to apartment 5A. On April 20th, a messy man aggressively begged money for an orphanage he claimed to be located close to 5A, approaching a visitor in her apartment near 5A. But later on, it was discovered that there were no such orphanages in that region at the time, which begged more questions regarding the man's motivations. The witness's description of the man as hostile and threatening added to the discomfort experienced by the surrounding people. Furthermore, the guest who had leased apartment 5A before the McCann discovered shockingly a man on his balcony on April 25th or 26th. This person was said to be polite and well-groomed after having entered the area from the street using the steps. Fascinatingly, he also asked for money for an orphanage, reflecting the past interaction and implying a possible behavioral pattern among these people. The circumstances worsened on the day of the disappearance, May 3rd, when 2 men were seen doing 4 separate charitable collections in the streets near apartment 5A. As residents and detectives tried to piece together the events preceding the sad incident, this unusual activity, along with past reports of suspicious behavior and the recent increase in burglaries, added to a mounting sense of anxiety among both people and officials. These elements taken together created a disturbing picture that begged questions regarding the area's safety and the possibility of criminal activity leading to Madeline McCann's disappearance. By May 2nd, someone said to be an ugly man with blonde hair was seen apparently watching from across the street from apartment 5A. This man had also been seen near the Ocean Club on April 29th, which begged questions regarding his motives. The granddaughter of the former 5A owners came upon a blonde-haired man leaning against a wall behind the flats on April 30th. She later saw him once more on May 2nd, close to a tapas restaurant, where he was once more staring at 5A, which made this encounter disturbing. Before she started missing, she described him as ugly, in his mid-30s, with short-cropped hair, and said he had blemishes on his face, which helped to shape her negative view of him. Many other sightings in the days preceding the disappearance added to the mounting anxiety. A man was observed weirdly staring at the McCann's building where a white van was parked, implying he was particularly interested in the area on or before the day of the disappearance. Given the later events, this observation was concerning. A girl on the balcony of the apartment above 5A saw a man leaving via the gate below on the afternoon of May 3rd. He seemed to have come from a ground-floor apartment, and she observed he looked around warily before gently closing the gate with both hands as if trying to hide himself. This unusual behavior added to the general discomfort about the circumstances. About 14:30 earlier that day, two blonde-haired men were observed on the balcony of 5C, an empty apartment just 2 doors down from 5A. Given the background of continuous monitoring of suspicious people, their presence close to the McCann's apartment was alarming. Another blonde-haired man was seen close to 5A between 16 and 17 o'clock, aggravating the sense of a pattern of unusual activity in the neighborhood. At 18 o'clock, either the same man or another blonde-haired person was seen in the McCann's building stairway, which set off panic among those aware of the earlier sightings. Two blonde-haired men were seen in a nearby street having a loud conversation 2 hours after the disappearance at 23 o'clock. This increased the stress on the unnoticed plans. Many theories and speculations surround the fate of Madeline. Different professionals propose that she might still be alive. One theory holds that Madeline might have been kidnapped and driven into a trafficking system. She is still most likely alive since her remains have not been found in the 17 years since her disappearance. Some researchers contend that as a white child from an affluent country, she would have been seen as a high-value target for both traffickers and the rising numbers of incidents in Portugal. The country's geographical location would have given abductors easy escape routes to other countries. On the other hand, some analysts suggest that the young girl might have unintentionally stopped a breakthrough, resulting in her abduction and later murder by her captors. Still, the main suspect in this case is Christian Bruckner. Authorities found his Hotmail account in June 2024, supposedly directly linked to Madeline's disappearance. If you like this video, like and subscribe, then also click the next video that shows on your screen.